Fox 17 and Ramsey Solutions, helping you get financially fit in 2018. For the next hour, experts from Ramsey Solutions are answering your questions. Let's meet our panel. America's trusted voice on money and business, best-selling author and host of the Dave Ramsey Show, Dave Ramsey, with a plan to get you debt-free. Personal finance expert and best-selling author Rachel Cruz with advice on budgeting, money and marriage, and teaching your kids about money. Financial expert and best-selling author Chris Hogan joins us with advice on retirement and wealth building. Certified business coach and best-selling author Christy Wright with ways to create a side business. Personal finance expert and host of Life, Money, and Hope, Chris Brown joins us with balancing giving and getting out of debt. Best-selling author and youth and money expert Anthony O'Neill is here to talk teens, money, and paying for college. And host of the Ken Coleman Show, Ken Coleman, joins us with career advice and how to discover what you were born to do. Welcome to Fox 17 News Town Hall tonight, Financial Freedom 2018. We're here to get you started out on this new year on the good foot financially. And we've got the entire Ramsey Solutions team here right now, 7 of the members of Ramsey Solutions. And it's really not common to get all of you in the same place at the same time. So this is a really big deal. And we're happy to be able to have you all here answering questions from really around the world. We've got people really tweeting questions to us, sending questions on social media through Facebook, and then also our audience members here asking questions themselves. And so we're going to spend this next hour just trying to help people answer their questions to change their future, change their lives. So first of all, I wanted to thank all of you for taking the time tonight to be with us. I want to let everyone who may be watching this know that you can submit your questions on our Fox 17 News live Facebook stream on Fox Nashville. Just go to that stream right now. It's a Facebook live video, and you can submit your questions there. Also at Fox Nashville's Twitter page, just tweet Financial Freedom 2018 as the hashtag to make sure that you get your questions asked tonight on this show. But first, before we do that, I have a question that I want to ask each of you. I want each of you to answer the same question. What is the best way anyone watching tonight can start 2018 on a good financial foot? Dave, you start.
People ask me all the time, what is the number one mistake people make financially? And the answer is they just don't bother. So the number one thing you can do is be intentional. Just actually care. Because what happens is the things we pay attention to are the things that we win with. I mean, just think about when you were, if those of you, I've been married 35 years, you've been dating for forever, you know. Forever ago we were dating. But remember when you were dating her or dating him, you paid attention to him. And what you pay attention to, you win with. That's how you ended up married.
There you go. It's true. It's true. So that's a great philosophical viewpoint as being intentional. But I would say on a practical level, if that's where we want to go, is to do... No, not where we want to go. If I were to be very honest, I was going to say intentional. That was my mind, and then he took it. So I'm going to go tactical.
Good cover.
So, yeah, I would say doing a budget. So this is something that is a foundational principle when it comes to personal finance in order to win. You have got to be intentional about your money, and tactically the best way to do that is the budget.
Ooh, good save.
And that's like a practical answer, but here's an even more practical answer. Once you do the budget, it's really important that you have a plan. A lot of the folks that we talk to, they just don't know what they don't know. And it's the whole overwhelmed feeling. I've got all these expenses. I've got this income over here. Well, how do I put them in order? Do I save right now? Do I get out of debt right now? Retirement? What do I need to do in what order? And so after you've got the intentionality and you've got the budget, you also got to have a plan after the budget.
Yeah, then from there, I would tell people to dream. I want you to start to imagine how things could be much better, because where you are now does not have to be where you end up unless you quit. And so your dreams will motivate you more than fear will. So get intentional and start to realize, what is it you want for you? Right. What do you want for your spouse, and what do you want for your kids? There's not a parent or grandparent in here that doesn't want better for their kids and their grandkids. And the only way they're going to get better is if we do better.
I love it. And Hogan, I love what you said about motivation and momentum, because really I would say that the best thing you could do this year is to take one step, whether that's the budget or that's paying off one credit card. Just take one action step, and when you do that, that success will give you confidence and momentum to take the next step. And what we found in finances and anything in life is it's much more about motivation than it is about math. Yeah. And so get yourself motivated by taking those steps, and as you get that confidence, you'll stick with it for the long haul. Yeah.
I'll just dovetail off of what Chrissy said. I think what she said is so powerful. Confidence is huge when you're trying to be intentional, and I think the way to be really confident is to be really clear. So I'm going to give you 2 practical questions that'll give you great clarity. First question is, on your intentionality for 2018, where do you want to end up financially? What is that goal? Be very, very specific. Where do you want to end up? And then the second question, why do you want to end up there? The where and the why will give you clarity, and that'll give you confidence, and you'll stay the course.
Oh, good, Coleman.
That was real good. Hopefully I can be that good. No, I got something for you. When I listen to all this is going to require for some of us to be uncomfortable. So if you really want to win this year with your finances, be uncomfortable. You see, debt is killing your dreams. Debt is killing your goals. Don't allow your comfort zone to become your kill zone. Ooh. And so what I would definitely say this year is be uncomfortable.
Mic drop.
Wow. Made me feel uncomfortable.
That was really good. That was really good.
Oh, thank you, Erica. That means a lot more from you than Dave.
We trash talking.
Boom.
Not smart.
Well, we have the first person here in the audience asking a question. Maggie here has a question for Dave. Maggie, you want to go ahead and ask?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'm fangirling, so I'm really excited to have you guys all in front of me, which is crazy. My husband and I are on baby step number 2, so we're paying off all of our debt. And rent in Nashville is incredibly high. And I was wondering, is there ever a good point to pause that and to save and buy a house? Because it is such a huge expense when you're looking at being, 3-4 years down the road. Does it ever get better?
Well, Maggie, thank you. We appreciate you being here tonight. I've been doing this for 25, almost 30 years now, and I have never seen anyone buy a home while they were still in debt and had no emergency fund, and the home turn into a blessing. It's always a curse. Murphy moves in your spare bedroom, brings his old lady Sally Mae with him. She's got her own bedroom, and you just get stuck. What you may need to do is you may need to increase your commute, and Lord help us in Nashville with our commutes. But if you're in an area that is expensive, the further you go out of any metro area, Nashville or any other city, when you go out those rings like dropping a pebble, the cheaper it gets. And thus people end up in other counties nearby, but commute into work and so forth because rent is high and because of the real estate market is just white hot here, and it's driving some of that. But don't let that cause you to make a rash decision that sets your family back a decade. I know I want you to own a house, but I don't want the house to own you.
That's good, Dave.
That's right.
Thank you so much. We have a Twitter question right now. Joyce is asking, how can you build your emergency fund when you're living paycheck to paycheck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a tough one. And I think bouncing off the idea of what we're talking about being intentional and having a plan, you have to prioritize. So when you're doing your budget, saving has to be at the top. And it's difficult when you're living paycheck to save. And so one of the reasons majority of people live paycheck to paycheck is because of debt. And so what I would encourage her to do is to get out of debt first and foremost, and then make saving a priority in the budget. But we always say your emergency fund starts off with $1,000. So get that as quickly as possible. Get an extra job, cut things out of your lifestyle, do what you can to squeeze that money together, get out of debt, and then bump it up to 3 to 6 months of expenses. Mm-hmm. But it's tough.
And Rachel, you're not off the hook yet. Brianna has a question for you as well.
Good evening. How are you guys?
Good.
Awesome. So my question is, what are some ways or ideas to tune out negative family and friends during your journey towards financial freedom?
Yes. Oh, this is so hard because one of my favorite questions that he always asks on the radio show when they're getting out of debt is, do people make fun of you? And almost every caller is like, yes, right? So we all have the Debbie Downers in our life, right? I mean, we all know who they are, let's be honest. So yeah, what I would say is you have to put the blinders on, I think, emotionally and say, this is my life. This is my journey and this is my money. And there's a sense of confidence you have to make that decision. Because when you're a little bit insecure about it, that's where other people's opinions and their lifestyle start to sway you. And so you have to have a sense of confidence to know what you're doing is good and it's the right thing. Right? So as you're making these sacrifices to get out of debt, you're doing this for the best of your future. And those sacrifices and you living like this is not going to be forever. And I don't want it to be forever for you, right? I want you to be able to get out of debt and then enjoy life. And then you could be like, hey, I'm at the beach and I paid cash. What are you doing? Right? I mean, so
I would also tell you to limit your exposure and the discussion with those negative people.
That's good.
A negative attitude's like a cold. And if you're around it, you can catch it. So don't debate it with them. Let them know you're not debating, you're stating. You're making a statement for your financial future, so stay focused and do what you do.
A buddy of mine says when he's hanging out with his family, he just adopts a bobblehead. And then just moves on, right? Just move on. Just move on.
Now, that's not one of your family members, is it?
I'm on television right here.
Thank you so much, Rachel, Chris, Dave. We appreciate it. Ms. Jackson on Twitter says, I know I should focus more on credit cards, more on my credit card, but with the lowest first, but should pay the card 20 to 30% utilization limit. She's wondering if she should focus on her credit score rather than just worry about the debt snowball.
Well, I'd just say the credit score is a big myth that you've got to have a great credit score to succeed in this life. When it comes to credit cards, a lot of folks are like, don't you have to have a credit card to just survive? And I love being able to say this, but I've never owned one. And I'm here and I survived and it's okay. So the whole idea, yes, yeah, you will survive. But one of the things that we say around here quite a bit is the credit score actually is an I love debt score. This is how well I play kissy face with the bank. And so I would just say, you don't have to do that, and make sure when you're doing your debt snowball that you pay off that, the smallest balance first, because again, going back to what Christy said, it's more about motivation than it is math.
Right. Thank you so much. And this is it for just now, but stay with us and keep asking those questions. You can go to our Fox Nashville Facebook page, log on to our live stream there. You can submit your questions there. Also submit them on Twitter at Fox Nashville, #FinancialFreedom2018, and we will be answering more of your questions in just a couple minutes. Welcome back to Financial Freedom 2018 of Fox 17 News Town Hall. We're so glad to be here right now to answer all of your questions, financial freedom related. I know that's probably the path a lot of us are trying to get on right now. And we have another person asking a question for Chris Brown.
Yes, my name is Greg. How are you doing?
Hey, Greg.
My question is, my wife and I, we started Financial Peace University in February of 2016. Mm-hmm. We got off to a really good start, but we keep having setbacks. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering what your advice would be with that.
What kind of setbacks?
Well, bad habits. Don't get mad at me, Dave.
I'm not mad. I just wonder what happened.
Now I know why he wanted to talk to me.
Yeah. 100%. Yes.
You go to him for the kick in the pants and me for the hug afterwards.
Aside from all that, what was the setback?
Well, we did move here. My wife, which is sitting right here, by the way, we moved from here. I used to live here in the 90s, and we just moved back from Minnesota. So we had that transition, and we had it under control, but I think some of it is bad habits, like you said earlier, about kind of not caring, and then all of a sudden we care.
Okay.
And so...
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, this is going to go back to what Chris Hogan said earlier about having a dream. You've got to go back and find out. Your dream has to go. I love when you say it has to go to HD. Like right now, you might have a standard definition dream. Like it's like, okay, it's a dream. Maybe it's just written down. But it's got to be a dream that's vivid. You got to know exactly what it looks like and what retirement looks like, what life looks like 5 years from now. And that motivates you. And not a math thing, not a plus and minus thing, not a savings thing. It's deeper than that. It is a dream of yours to live a lifestyle that's realistic, but it's a stretching goal. And then another thing I would say is whatever those little habits are, whatever those things that are pulling you back, you got to remove those from your life. So if it's voices into your life, they need to be removed. Kindly, with respect, but they might need to be removed. If it's credit cards and they're still sitting there, they need to be cut up. I don't know what it is, but some things need to be removed and other things need to be added, because you've got to get to a place where every dollar has an opportunity for the future, not an obligation to the past.
You got kids?
Yes. At home, we have a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Yeah. What I always pretend in my mind when I'm doing something like this is something bizarre, which is not going to happen, okay? But just like, if I had to do this to save the life of my child, what could I do? Anything. I could do anything.
Yep.
All of a sudden it'd get real. And you know, Ken Coleman always says, you need to know where you're going and why you're going. And if you got to get your why, what Chris Hogan's talking about, dreaming in HD, Chris Brown's bringing that up, to get that in HD, and then you could do anything if you get a big enough why. That would be a bizarre why, and it would be a negative why, but it still would be one that would be game on, baby, you know? And you wouldn't let up after that. And you just, because if it's just like, well, I'd like to be a little healthier, well, so what? You know, it's not going to work. You know, but there's got to be like, I want to stay alive. And all of a sudden you change, you know? And I'm the same way. We're all the same way. But if you don't get that thing in front of you, it doesn't move you.
Yeah, that's
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Real good.
All right, we have a question now from Martha on Twitter. She says, I was recently forced to change jobs with 40% pay cut. I'm struggling each month, considering taking money from my 401k to pay off my home and leave $250,000 in the 401k. Is that the right move?
Absolutely not. You don't want to, I'm sorry, I'm passionate about this topic. Because your 401k, you've put that money away. A lot of people look at 401k and they just see it as an account. I want you to look at it and think of it as something totally different. It's a paycheck replacement. That's exactly why you're putting that money away and you're growing it. And so you've had time and compound interest to allow that money to grow. You can take one wrong move and end up giving up 50% of that money by pulling money out before you're 59 and a half. Now, I understand she's in a tough spot right now. And what I want her to do is to take a deep breath and start to realize, what can I do? That is not a viable option. Don't steal from your future while you try to deal with your present. I would encourage her to scale back lifestyle. If she's had a 40% income cut, that's a big cut. Now we've started to move things out of your life that don't matter. You see, we have to be grown up enough to tell a want that it needs to wait. We've got to take care of the requirements. I would look at ways and brainstorm ways for her to bring in extra income by taking on a second or third job. Do whatever you have to do to protect that 401k, but then also reduce your expenses. Look at selling your home if you're in a home. Downsize, sell a car. I want you to get radical with this, but this is temporary. Reach out to your friends and network, let them know you're on the market and you're looking for X amount. It's amazing the people we know when we put the word out.
Well, and I would add too, you don't doesn't have to be the end of her story. Like she says it is like, this happened to me.
Right.
And you don't need to let things happen to you in your life. They will, but you can happen to things. And so she can start looking for ways to find work that she loves. Ken, that's what you help people do, is find work that they're passionate about. So that doesn't have to be the end of her story. I would encourage, in addition to all of that, financially, to find work where she's being paid and compensated for her efforts and that she's really passionate about as well.
Christy, you picked up on a word. She said I was forced.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You weren't forced. They didn't have a gun.
Yeah.
You left the job. They either fired you or you quit, and you may have needed to, but you weren't forced to take a pay cut. You just took a pay cut. And so now it's time to be forced to make an increase. I had a lady on our team not long ago. Her husband got laid off back during Christmas. They laid him off right before Christmas. Nice people. And I came in and I said, what does he do? And she said, he's in IT. And I went, oh, he's getting ready to get a raise. Because they weren't paying him what he was worth probably, because IT's shooting way up, right? And sure enough, he got a job making the same he was making, but with a lot more benefits. He effectively got a raise. Took about 3 weeks was all. And it turns out, but you're not forced. It's a decision. So you might have had to take this step, but that's not the end of your story. Keep playing, but don't adopt that language. You weren't forced to do nothing.
It's not a victim mentality.
Could be a blessing in disguise.
It should be. Every time you get laid off is not a bad thing. It can be the biggest thing ever, the greatest thing ever happened to you.
And on that note, we are going to submit more questions, take more questions from our Fox Nashville Facebook page. You can also send them to Dave Ramsey's Facebook page, Twitter as well, #FinancialFreedom2018. And we will be back in just a couple minutes to answer more of your questions. Welcome back to Financial Freedom 2018, a Fox 17 News Town Hall. And I am here with Jeremy. You have a question for Anthony O'Neill.
Yes, I do. Anthony, I am the father of a 17-year-old boy, and we skipped over baby step number 5 for reasons, and we have no money to help him pay for college. He's worried about how to pay for college, and he does not want to go into debt.
Well, that's a good thing. Is he here?
No, he's not.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to say hello to him. But hey, Pops. Hey, son. All right, so the very first thing I would definitely do is I would sit down with your son and got to have a plan. Okay, son, hey, this is what we can do. We're not going to take out any student loans. And hey, here's the thing. You may have to go to community college. There is nothing wrong with going to community college. If I can go back to my old days, I wish my father would have said, Anthony, you're going to go to community college. You're going to get a job. You're going to take ownership of part of this. I'm going to help you, but I need you to also pay towards it as well. But then also as a parent, it's not your job to send him to school. It's your job to assist him while he's in school. Young people need to start taking ownership. And at the same time, he's 17, so he's a junior or a senior? Senior. He's a senior. So right now, he needs to be looking up scholarships every single day. He needs to cut off social media, cut off TV, tell his girlfriend he'll talk to her later. And he's going to get on the computer. He's going to go really gazelle intense and looking up scholarships and grants every single day. Because the key thing is he can go to college completely debt-free. So it's never about the lack of his ability. It's about the lack of his determination. If he's determined, he will go to college debt-free.
And to add on to that, just to echo, because Anthony and I, we talk to young people all the time, and so the biggest mistake people make is their college choice.
Yeah.
That's simple. And when he mentioned the community college, it's true. And those of you that have been to school, the first 2 years, it's math and English and foreign language, right? I mean, it's all these things that you really can take inexpensively at a community college and then transfer to his in-state school. Or if he gets scholarships and he can afford an in-state school, that's great. But he doesn't need to step over a state line, go to a school that's basically the same school as an in-state one here in Tennessee, but you're paying 3 times as much. Or going to some private school that no one's ever heard of and going $120,000 in debt to get a undergrad degree in English, right? You meet these students, you're like, no, gosh. And so that school choice is number one, huge.
Jeremy, does he have a school in mind?
No, he does not. He's actually undecided in his major also. So.
And Jeremy, let me ask you, does he have any clue at all? I know he's undecided in major, but does he have any idea? Is he dreaming? Is he talking about what he'd like to do one day when he grows up?
He wants to play soccer.
Okay. Does he have the ability? Is he a good soccer player?
He is, actually. He is. Yes.
Here's the deal. Regardless of the answer to that question, I want to throw another alternative out because here's the reality in 2018. 58% of college graduates are coming out of school in massive debt, and they're having to take jobs that they're overqualified for with their very expensive, not paid for education. It is not a panic, and it should not be, if at 17 he graduates high school and he's not sure what he wants to do and he can't pay for school yet. I would take that year, maybe even 2 years, and really figure out what it is that he really wants to do. Does he have the talent to do it? Can he pull it off? And here's the good news. He might eventually pay cash, like Rachel and Anthony are saying, and he might start 2 years later, but he'll come out ahead of everybody else because he won't be in debt. We've got to fight this pressure from parents in American culture right now that our kids have to go to college as soon as they graduate high school if they have no idea what it is they want to do. And we're pressuring these kids unintentionally to go get a degree. I'd rather them take a little bit of time. They're still going to come out ahead. And some kids, let's be honest, may not need a college degree to live in their sweet spot and do the work they were created to do. We've got to be okay with this.
And we are going to take a break right now. But first, send your questions, Twitter, Facebook, for Financial Freedom 2018. We'll answer your questions some more in just a bit. Welcome back to Financial Freedom 2018. We are answering your questions to help you start the new year off on the right financial foot. And we have Allison here right now wanting to ask a question of Christy.
Yes. Hi, Christy. First of all, I was laid off a little over a year ago, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me because I was forced to get out there and live my dream. Right. I attended Business Boutique last fall, and I know you tell us that we must choose one business. I have two that I love very much. So if I must choose, how do I go about doing that?
What are your two businesses?
I have two businesses. One is a pet sitting business that's just going like gangbusters.
Okay.
And the other is that I'm building a Spanish language institute, which is both virtual and in person. I'm fluent in Spanish.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so here would be my advice to you, and this is a great question. I get asked this very often. So if you're starting out, what I recommend is you don't start two businesses at one time because you're diluting your efforts and confusing your customers. If you're in a position like you are, where the businesses cannot work together, I always try to find a way for them to work together if they can. But if they can't, in your case, but one of them is running, like gangbusters, like you said, a well-oiled machine, and you want to spend a little time over here, 20%, 30% of your time, and build this up as well, as long as this is sustainable, that's okay. What my recommendation is, you don't start two things at one time because it's very difficult for you, and then you don't know how to market yourself to the marketplace because you've got all these different messages going out there. But in your case, if you've got this one that's a well-oiled machine, the pet sitting, and you want to spend some time building this other business up, you absolutely can do that. I would just set some goals around that. So how much time, how much money, how much effort, and then making sure you're getting your ROI there. So your case is a little different from someone that's just starting out.
Could you teach my Shih Tzu Spanish?
Yeah. I do make those work together.
I have dogs that speak Spanish. Actually, some of my students, I teach their dogs Spanish. So they now like say.
So they do work together. That's perfect.
I got it, Dave.
There it is.
Awesome.
Now we found a way to do it.
It goes together, Christy.
Totally.
You see?
I love it. I love
Dave, you got to be careful what you wish for with this crowd.
Yeah.
Great question.
All right, we have a Facebook question. AJ asks, what is the best way I can save for my child and build for their financial future outside of a typical savings account in their name?
Well, if it's going to be college-oriented, if it's college-oriented, we're going to ESA or a 529 plan. Those are the best things to do as far as tax shelter. But as far as saving, it literally just start. I don't know. They're just brand new babies. I think just a savings account right now to find out how things are going to shake out. But I love the fact that you're planning ahead. One thing to be concerned about, though, just this idea in general, is if you are currently paying off debt as the parents, I would actually hold off on what feels really good to I'm saving for my child. It just feels so good. Just remember, one of the best things you can do for your child is for you to be debt-free as they grow up. So hold off on that saving for the kid. Make sure that you get out of consumer debt first. Make sure that you got an emergency fund so you don't have emergencies in your house where you actually maybe be put in a spot where you got to pull from the child's savings later. So I know it feels real good, we're saving for our kid, but many people who do that aren't ready to do that.
Yeah, making sure that your retirement's covered, that their college is covered, just like you said. And then if there is money left over, right, and you're like, hey, we're out of debt, the house is paid for, we're just building wealth. What do we do? You can even just set up a simple mutual fund for them and let that grow. Just something very simple. And you can talk to an investment professional to do something like that can get a little bit more of a rate of return versus just a traditional savings account.
I would also say, growing up, one of the things my grandparents did for me was opening up a savings account. And so when I got money, they put money in, but I also took some money to the bank as well. And I have to tell you, I was very proud as a 10 and 11-year-old going to the bank with my little passbook, right, to deposit money in. It gave me awareness of money at an early age. So I think that's something he could do with his kids. Again, you're right. If he's getting out of debt, be 100% focused. But if the kids are getting money from family for their birthdays or for holidays, maybe take a look at saving 50% of that and allowing them to give and spend on the other 50%.
A passbook?
A passbook?
Passbook.
Passbook? I thought passport.
Back in the old
Shows
days.
your age. Shows your age there.
Whoa, way.
That's funny.
Wait till commercial break.
Chris, I have a question for you. Can I ask a question? Is it my turn?
Yeah.
I have a question real quick. So for a retirement account, a 401k account, if you have an employer who matches the amount that you contribute, can you count that toward the 15% savings, or is that just bonus?
Well, first and foremost, let's help everyone understand. A 401k is a pre-tax account that you can get working with your employer. We encourage people to invest 15% of their household income toward retirement accounts. I would not advise you to count that match. Okay, and people look at me and they often say, well, Chris, hold on, they match up to 6 or 8 or whatever percent. I've never had anyone get to retirement and did it the right way and told me they had too much money, right? So you stay focused, you do 15%, you know the match is there, but don't count it, and watch what happens. It's gonna help you establish the habit of being intentional and preparing for later. So don't count it, stay focused through 15%, and I promise you, you won't regret it.
Perfect, thank you. All right, David Cole on Facebook. He's asking, I have money set aside for house renovations, and I'm wondering if investing in solar panels is a good call. Will it be worth the cost and save me money? Any insight if he should do this or go a different route or just sit on it?
Solar panels have, the quality of them has increased considerably. So the rate of return on them, what you get out of them has increased considerably. But it's a pretty simple thing. Your vendor that you're dealing with can give you a break-even analysis. In other words, given the area you're in, how much sun are you going to get, and the cost of electricity in your area, how much are you going to save? And the break-even analysis is if you put out $12,000 and you save $2 a year, well, we're not doing this because the break-even analysis on it is like 7 lifetimes. But if you put out $12,000 and you save $1,000 a month, well, it all comes back in a year. And that would not happen either. That's another extreme. So it's probably somewhere in between there. And you don't want to do stuff like this, windows or solar panels or things that have a supposed consumer rate of return, a consumer break-even analysis, where it runs much more than 2 to 3 years. And so they better be really good solar panels, and there needs to be a lot of sun in your area for it to work.
Miranda is here now with a question for Ken. Go ahead and ask.
Okay, so hi, Ken.
Hi.
Good evening. So my husband and I in 2017, we accomplished and were able to get to baby step 4 and also cash flow a car, and it is fully depreciated, so yay raw. However, I am in the midst of a job transition. I was approached by a former professional mentor and manager at a nonprofit for a director level position. When I resigned this week from my current employer, they countered me with a customized role. Good predicament to have. It is more money and a higher title. How would you advise me?
I'm wanting you to go for what you really want to do. So I would first ask you, what's the reason that you were leaving to go to the nonprofit? What was the real reason?
Right. So on my DISC assessment, I'm a 100% I. Impacting people is my top priority. It really fulfills me. So.
What is the work of the nonprofit?
They open recording studios in underprivileged areas, and they allow children to come learn musical instruments, audio engineering.
Okay. Are you torn right now? Is that why you asked me the question? What
yes,
should
sir.
you choose? Okay.
Yes, because right now in my current role, I'm actually still helping people.
Sure.
I am a training specialist, so I get to work with people one-on-one daily. So.
Okay. Here's the question. Are you torn because you feel like they've countered, they've made you feel special all of a sudden? They're going to offer probably a customized role with probably some more money, and all of a sudden that feels safe, doesn't it?
Right.
And then moving over here doesn't feel quite as safe, does it?
Right.
That's
exactly.
what's going on. So you're letting fear cloud your judgment right now, and that's very normal. You shouldn't feel bad about that. That's how we all are. But the reality is when you're faced with two choices and confusion begins to seep in, we want to go towards clarity. And the clarity is the nonprofit is what pulled at you. You decided to leave, then they countered, and so that's not clear. What's clear is, I think you're supposed to be at that nonprofit. We don't make our decisions based on money because the money will be enough if you do the work that you love. I promise you. I would go to where your heart says to go.
Okay, and that is even though maybe the benefits and retirement plans aren't as
yes,
robust?
Because you're following Dave Ramsey and Chris Hogan and Chris Brown and
That's
Rachel
right.
Cruz, and they have proven over many, many years that Dave's baby steps can turn regular money, middle-class money into millionaires. This guy knows this. Chris Hogan's doing research on it. I'm telling you, don't worry about the benefits.
Okay.
Do what you're supposed to do.
And just so you guys know, I am dreaming, and Ramsey Solutions, I'm coming for you eventually, okay?
Good for you. Good problem to have, too, by the way. And we will be back with more Financial Freedom 2018, a Fox 17 News Town Hall answering more of your questions. Welcome back to Financial Freedom 2018, a Fox 17 News Town Hall. We're here answering your questions to get you started off on the right foot at the beginning of this year. And we're here with Leanne now from Antioch. She has a question for Dave.
Hi, Dave. First of all, I want to say that your staff is amazing. I volunteered at the Money and Marriage event in the fall, and they were so amazing. And I talked this afternoon to Clint in your entree leadership department. He needs a raise.
Oh. There you go. Well, I'll see right to that. Yeah.
All right, so my question is, I've read Entree Leadership and I've read Business Boutique, followed the podcast and everything.
Good.
And you talk a lot about what employers should be looking for in employees. But I want to ask that question in reverse. As an employee, what can I do to be more attractive to my current employer and to employers that I may be trying to seek out in the future?
So what to look for in an employer?
No, what do I need to do as an employee to raise the bar more, for myself as, I'm trying to do a better job as an employee, and then as in the future, I really would like to work here at Ramsey Solutions. Yeah. What can I do, to better myself to put
Clint's hiring, so. But, I think it's a pretty simple thing. Most of these things in business ethics or a lot of things, if you just reverse the shoes a minute and say, if the roles were reversed, what would you want? If you were hiring somebody, you had somebody working on your team, what would you want? I want somebody that cares, that shows up, doesn't mail it in. I want somebody that's getting after it, that's scratching and clawing and pushing things around. And around here we used to say, well, that person gets it. They get it. And that was a little too vague. And a friend of mine named Pat Lencioni wrote a book called The Ideal Team Player. And he says the ideal team player is what we call gets it. He gave vernacular to the way we were thinking. He said the ideal team player is hungry, so they're ambitious and they got things to do. They're pushing things around. They're humble. It's not all about them. They're not arrogant. They're not lacking in confidence, but they're humble. They're not self-centered. They're other-centered, and they're smart. And by smart he means people smart. They play well with others. They know how to work well with others to get things done. And those are the people that fit in around here. If I were running any other kind of business, I'd like to have some people that were hungry, that were humble, and were smart. And if you're missing one of those, it's not too good. If you're missing two of them, you don't make it. And so what would you want on somebody on your team if you owned a company to do? You'd want them to treat the customer right. You want to be honest. You want them to show up. All of those kinds of things. So just be that person. And the weird thing is that the bar is fairly low because so few people do it. And so you just stand out like a shining star, when you do this stuff, because it's just so rare that people actually care. I mean, how many of us go into businesses where the employees don't care? And we walk out going, I don't know how these idiots stay open, And so because they hire those people, and it's frustrating for the person that's paying the bill, and they don't know what to do about it sometimes. That's why in Entree Leadership we talk about it so much. But just be that person that you wish that you would like to hire were you running the business. And that answers a bunch of your questions.
I would say also, just to add on to that, to perform for the job that you want. There's a great quote in Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg where she says some of the most amazing positions are not jobs that are posted, but problems that you solve, and then that thing becomes your job. Yeah. And so look for problems to solve for your leaders. Look for ways to take initiative. Don't wait for someone to knight you and say you now have permission to speak up. Speak up in meetings. Take initiative, solve problems. When you do those things, typically the promotion follows that. Often people get that backwards and they wait for a promotion to perform, and then you'll get the promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Leanne, thank you. And I just want to say, too, you guys obviously are masters at being able to give advice, financial advice, getting out of debt. I myself was given financial peace, the entire, program by my parents, and I was a little irritated because I was raised in a debt-free family. I have never had debt before, and I thought, I don't need this. This is a waste of time. But my husband and I watched it. We went through the entire program and learned so much about health care, benefits, insurance, ways to invest, things beyond just getting out of debt that I didn't even know there was value there for. So I just want to say thank you to you guys. You guys are life changers, you're game changers, and you want to be here tonight to help others do the same thing. So go ahead and get your questions in. You can go to Fox Nashville's Facebook page, Dave Ramsey's Facebook page, Twitter at Fox Nashville, hashtag Financial Freedom 2018, and we will continue answering more of your questions on any of these topics in just a bit. Welcome back to our town hall, getting you financially fit in 2018. And here we are with Liz asking a question of Rachel.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
Glad you're here.
Talking to you guys. What advice do you have for a young business professional, specifically female, but could be for male as well, trying to pay off their debt, but also portray an image of success? You know, nowadays, this is a very materialistic world, unfortunately, and in order to be successful, they say you have to portray an image of success, but sometimes you don't have that money, or, you know, what are your tricks?
Yes.
How do you fake it till you make it on a budget?
Yeah, definitely. TJ Maxx, right? I mean, the whole picture of success. I mean, that's the biggest lie that our generation has believed. That lie has gotten people into not just discontentment emotionally, but into major debt. And you look at our generation, even just on social media, right? You see your friends on Instagram and Facebook, and they live this amazing life, and you're like, you're 28. How are you going to Hawaii 3 times a year? You know what I mean? You see this, and you're like, what? And a lot of people are using debt to put this, you know, performance on of that they're successful. And so what you have to do is to say, you know what, I cannot care what the world thinks. Do you want to be presentable at work? Yeah, absolutely. And I joked about TJ Maxx, but for real. You could go to places and get great clothes, do what you need to do to be professional at work, and then as you're making the income and you're out of debt and you're doing the responsible things with your money, and we say after baby step 3, which is 3 to 6 months of expenses saved in the bank, so that's out of debt with a fully funded emergency fund, that's the point where I tell people you can kind of let your foot off the gas a little bit, enjoy, go up to Banana Republic maybe, right, instead of DJ Maxx, you know, but your lifestyle can start to increase then. But stay focused for that short term, and don't believe the world that they say that you have to look at this, you have to look professional, you know, this picture of success, because that's going to be different for everyone. You have to stay focused to you and make sure you're presentable at work, sure, but don't let the world tell you that.
I got a bunch of professional ladies working on our team that are very sharp and very good at what they do. None of them have ever gotten a promotion because of a Louis purse. You know how they got noticed for being looking like so they were successful? They became successful. I don't notice what they wear unless it's distracting in some kind of weird way, you know? I don't notice. I notice what they do. Do they get stuff done, how they carry themselves, how they make eye contact, whether they know how to do relationships, and whether they know how to carry a conversation and string a sentence together. But, the decor is irrelevant to most people, except maybe peers.
Well, I would say we're talking about two different things here. We're talking about presentation. Of course, you want to be professional and present yourself well, which you can do at TJ Maxx. And then we're talking about brand names and actual cost. And to Dave's point, no one's going to promote you. You're not going to get a big client because you have a certain brand name purse or sunglasses or car. But you can present yourself as a professional, which, of course, any of us would want to do in a work environment and that type of thing, which you can do on a budget. You can be really, really smart. And Rachel has so many vlogs and tips on how to save and still look nice, because we want to wear cute clothes. I get that, but you can do that on a budget.
And I'll tell you this too. That fake it until you make it, throw it out the window.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, make it until you make it. You know, I had to tell myself that all the time. I'm going to make it on my level until I make it. And so three P's, because our time is always up, and I'm going to be on my time. It's 3 P's. It's purge, plan, and pursue. Purge all your distractions. Get off social media for a little while. Put your plan on paper, and you pursue that plan until you're successful. But make it until you make it.
Good. All right, we have a quick answer to a question here. Someone going through a divorce wants to get their spouse's name off the title. How do they do that?
Title of the house, it has to be refinanced or sold.
Okay, what about property? Any
kind of property, it has to be refinanced or sold. Banks do not let spouses off mortgage titles.
Okay, all right. Now,
that was a quick answer.
that was extremely quick. Yeah. But we want to take this time, though, to thank you all as we close out this show. Can you believe it's already been an hour? It's hard to believe that. But we appreciate all of your questions, every question you've submitted through Twitter, Facebook, Dave, Rachel, Chris, Christy, Ken, Anthony. Thank you so much for all being in the same place at the same time, which is so hard to do. Yes. And thank you for helping everybody get fit, financially fit in 2018. And with that said, that is the end of Financial Freedom 2018 of Fox 17 News Town Hall. Thanks for joining us.